Thank you, Mr. Barletta. Mr. Carson, for allowing me to testify today. And first, let me commend Chairman Barletta on his efforts to not only authoring but passing a bipartisan bill with Public Building Savings and Reform Act of 2015. Your leadership on this issue has helped us in this time to not only in decreasing our national debt, but getting rid of some of the government inefficiency. I'd also like to thank Chairman Schuster and Chairman Chaffetz for working with me on this issue to ensure that it receives the proper oversight and attention. Reducing our nation's national debt is a bipartisan issue, and I've been proud to work over the last several years to not only get a bipartisan resolution, but get one that goes across multiple committees to garner enough support to actually move this along. Legislation to reform the federal property disposal process would create a nonpartisan professional board to root out waste and inefficiencies in the way that we manage our public buildings. The principles of this bill are the driving forces behind the effort to redevelop the Federal Triangle and serve as a model for how we manage property nationwide. I first proposed reforming the federal property disposal process at this subcommittee's first hearing in February 2011, and the President proposed similar ideas in his 2012 budget. I'm pleased to see the President has continued his support of these reforms, speaking to it not only in his 2011 State of the Union speech, but also including it once again in his 2016 budget that he submitted to Capitol Hill. Likewise, I'm pleased to have secured the commitment of this administration to advance legislation and work with myself and Chairman Chaffetz to see real reforms actually signed into law. In recent years, the GAO identified billions of dollars of waste through mismanagement over buildings and an over-reliance on costly lease space to meet long-term housing needs. Additionally, both houses of Congress have included the idea in their annual budget documents. I believe the potential to save billions of dollars is real. To be successful, the board will need to implement 5 principles. First, to consolidate the footprint of the federal real estate. Second, house more federal employees in less overall space. Third, reduce our reliance on costly leased space. Fourth, sell or redevelop high-value assets that are underutilized or too valuable for housing federal employees. And fifth, and most importantly, to dispose of surplus property quickly. I believe a Board of Citizens that uses these 5 principles to guide its decisions can see over $15 billion in initial savings. To be clear, we're not looking to create a fire sale of vacant properties or overload the marketplace. Simply dumping vacant properties on the market is not a long-term solution. Additionally, some members have talked about this as being a BRAC-like process. We've listened to these concerns over the years and continue to work on this legislation. To begin with, BRAC relocated thousands of people, families, and entire communities. BRAC removed an economic engine from cities across the country. This legislation will not relocate one family. It will not destroy one single community. Instead, we will bring new economic life and development into federal space that has long been neglected. Finally, the decision on these properties today belongs to OMB, and through this legislation will remain with OMB. What we would like to do is reshape the way this country manages the federal real estate footprint. At the end of the day, the total cost to house the federal government is directly proportional to how much real estate we hold. To save money, we will have to consolidate that footprint. To consolidate, we must house more federal employees in less space. Fortunately, there are tremendous opportunities of savings in this area. Perhaps one of the greatest areas for taxpayer savings will be in the redevelopment or sale of the high-valued but underutilized properties. For instance, the ones that Chairman had talked about, the abandoned, underutilized properties here in D.C. from the Georgetown West Heating Plant and the old post office. They were both vacant, in decay, costing taxpayers millions of dollars a year as they sat idle and unused. First hearing that we held was in the old post office. I remember being a new freshman, wearing a California suit in the middle of the winter, and it was 32, it was below zero, freezing temperatures in that cold building sitting vacant. I know there's some people in here that remember very fondly the cold atmosphere of that vacant building that is now being redeveloped. Through the attention that was paid by this committee, GSA was able to sell one and lease the other to private entities that will bring new business and economic activity right here to the D.C. area. There are high-value properties like this all across the entire country. We can use this as an example. Maximizing value is what we seek to achieve. I believe this guiding principle, along with the 5 objectives I've outlined earlier, should help us to redevelop and push this legislation along. I thank the committee again and look forward to working with you on this issue as we move forward.